Hey, thank you for joining tonight. We will have some brief introductions, then we'll share about the strategic plan project. We'll go through the details of the strategic plan and answer any questions you have. Okay, for some brief introductions. Terry and Sam, would you like to say hello?
Good evening. I'm Terry Murphy, Director of English Learner Services in Arlington Public Schools. Also with me this evening is Sam Klein, Supervisor in the Office of English Learners. And we just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. As you can see, this is our roadmap to the 5-year plan. And thanks to our partnership with AIR, we are finally at number 5, and we have a draft of the 5-year plan. And we welcome all of you here this evening, and we're looking forward to your feedback.
Thank you. And we're just going at a slow to medium pace because we have a number of interpreters on tonight. So thank you for your patience. My name's Rebecca Berge, and I am with the American Institutes for Research. We are an organization who collaborated on this plan with Arlington Public Schools Office of English Learners. And we brought together a team of research experts who have expertise in English learners to work on this. And so you may have seen us through some focus groups. We were sending out surveys, met with a number of you through this process, and excited to share with you today. I'm also joined with my colleague today, Patricia Garcia Arena, who can say hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Sorry, I think maybe you were in the Spanish room. Thank you. Great. So we'd like to tell you first just a little bit about this project. The purpose of the project was to support the work of Arlington Public Schools Office of English Learners, and we want to improve the educational experiences and the outcomes of English learners in the district. Through this process, we collected data, and we used that to inform the development and what will come next, the implementation of a 5-year strategic plan. So again, a focus on improving outcomes for English learners in Arlington Public Schools. Prior to the strategic plan, in this fall, as I mentioned, we were working in your district. We collected a number of different data sources from the district. We looked at data from the district, so student outcomes. We interviewed district stakeholders as well as district leaders. We conducted a survey of school-based teaching staff, as well as we held focus groups of parents and families, as well as school principals. So we gathered all this information to understand the current programs, policies, and practices for English learners in Arlington schools. From that information, we came to a set of findings about the current state of experiences and outcomes for English learners in Arlington Public Schools. And we used that information, we synthesized it into key finding areas and areas for focus for the strategic plan. So this strategic plan will serve to guide Arlington Public Schools in serving English learners for the next 5 years. So we're expecting that these goals that we set out will be things working on over the next several years.
Yeah.
So the topic areas for the strategic plan, it falls into 5 areas. these areas also align with the current Arlington Public Schools strategic plan. This is EL student success, well-being, leadership and capacity building, coherent and effective systems, and family and community partnerships. So within the plan, under each category, we have a list of goals. Goals are what we're trying to work towards in the district and hoping to implement to meet the success of students. So the first category that we mentioned is EL student success. And you can see here that there are 5 goals related to EL student success. Under each category, there are a number of goals. Under student success, we have goals around receiving high quality instruction, utilizing dual language immersion to support students, giving them access to coursework, monitoring their progress, and supporting ways to support ELs who are identified with disability as well. Under each goal, you will then see a set of strategies, a section on who is involved or who is responsible, who will be taking part in these strategies, and something called a KPI. A KPI is a key performance indicator. So that is the metric of what are we looking for? When this goal has been achieved, what would we hope that we would see happening? So you can see, for example, here, we broke down the first goal, ensuring ELs receive high quality instruction in both general education and content area classes, including the 4 domains of language, building off their home language, and responding to individual student characteristics. The strategies related to that, there's 4 different strategies. The strategies are the actions that will take place to meet the goal. So those involve developing a scope and sequence for English language courses, integrating supports throughout the district, expanding the use of observation tools focused on ELs, and providing teachers with focused professional learning that supports the use of home language. And then you'll see the members of the APS community who are involved with that. And finally, the KPIs. So we would see ways that this is being implemented throughout the district. I'm going to just walk you through each set of the goals. I will also share a link in the chat right now where you can find on the Engage webpage. If you haven't looked already, there is a copy of the entire strategic plan, which includes the goals, the strategies for each goal, who's involved, and the indicators. And it's available in all 5 languages that we have here today. So you can view it in the complete document in your language. Goal 6 is about student well-being. So on this one, we have the goals of students coming to a safe and welcoming environment, as well as students having opportunities to participate with non-ELs in both academic as well as non-academic programming throughout the day. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, put your hand up, or write them in the chat, and I will try to answer questions as we go as well. We'll also save a time at the end for questions. Okay. The third topic area is about leadership and capacity building. The goals for leadership and capacity building are around ensuring district and school leaders are setting goals for shared responsibility of ELs, that in developing the staffing and master plan, that there's a priority sent in setting up rigorous content and instruction from prepared educators for English learners, as well as articulating, providing professional development around ELs. Okay, the fourth topic area is coherent and effective systems. So this is having the structures in place to best serve ELs. So improving the coherence and consistency of the identification and placement process for ELs. Looking at that program models are identified, selected, and implemented based on their research and appropriateness, and making staffing recommendations that will be equitable and maximize resources for ELs. So creating a system and structure that is ready to maximize support for English learners. And then the last category is family and community partnership. So this involves increasing parent and family understanding of programs, finding ways to engage with families, and leveraging community partners are the three goals we have here. I want to share with you the web page where you can see this all as well again. So as a reminder, we have, if you go to the Arlington Engage webpage, you can, I'll put this in the chat one more time. So if you go to the web page, you can see an overview, which I just shared today, of the process, as well as the strategic action plan goals. So here you can just click on the language that you're interested in, and you'll see the entire strategic plan. So today I just shared with you mostly the goals for each section, but please go ahead and take a look in. Within each goal, there's a set of strategies, there's who's involved, as well as those key performance indicators. So I encourage you, today we just looked at a high level of the goals, but I encourage you to look at the actual strategic plan itself. And then the next part is, how can you get involved? How can you show and give your input on this? So for starting this week and through next week, we have a public comment period. So if you click on here, whichever language you would like to leave your feedback in, then it will take you to a form, and you can fill that out to let us know, based on what you're seeing here, do you have any feedback or input to inform this strategic plan? So this is an opportunity for the community to see, be a part of this strategic plan process, and allow you to provide input. We'll also be recording this webinar tonight and sharing it. So if you know of others who are interested in learning more about this process and want to see the strategic plan and leave input, there's opportunity. This comment period will be open through the end of February. And so you can take a look and provide the feedback on there. So as I mentioned, there are links for each language to provide feedback on the form that's listed here, as well as it's listed on the Engage Arlington website. So today is just an introduction telling you about the process. If you have any questions about how was this plan developed, who was involved, What is the purpose of this? We're happy to answer any questions about it. If you have input on it that you'd like to share, please provide that in written format so we can collect information from the entire community. And we will gather that over the next 2 weeks and take that into consideration as we create a final version. It says, did you use data from multiple years or 1 year? What years did the data correspond to? We did look back at some data from previous years when we were talking about things like student data and student progress. We did look at some past years. As far as data that we collected, that was data from just this fall. Those were the focus groups, interviews, and educator work groups that we held were in the fall. Those all took place in the fall of 2022. You'll also see, related to the findings, someone had a question about where did the data come from. In the complete strategic plan, you'll see under each section, there's related findings. So for example, under EL student well-being or under leadership and capacity building, you'll see what are the findings from our data collection, and then how did those findings inform what we wrote up as the goals, developed as the goals. So, you know, it was informed by what we saw and worked with in the district, talking to many different parties. We also shared it with several groups, community groups, as well as educator groups in the initial draft form to get some input, because we wanted to make sure that what we're sharing here is something that is relevant for the entire Arlington community, something that they're excited about implementing, and that they see ways that everyone can see a place in participating in this, in the implementation of this plan. So that's why we're excited to have you all here today as well. It says, what was the response rate to the online teacher survey? So the teacher survey, we asked a subset of teachers. And for the exact response rate, I'm going to have to look that up and get back to you. I don't have it at my fingertips, but I can find that and get it to you. We did have I do remember it was high. We're higher than we anticipated. We were really excited with a positive response from the teacher survey. And I see comments here from people who were part of those educator groups that they see how their feedback was incorporated. So I hope that's a great example and testament to that this was something that was co-developed. You know, we were able to pull from a lot of different places to create this into the strategic plan that you see here today, but it was really a joint effort and, you know, taking into consideration the experiences here of many community members. And interpreters, if you're hearing questions from your groups, please feel free to write those in the chat so I can respond as well. Or anyone who wants to add some questions in the chat, feel free to do so. So as again, the purpose of tonight's webinar is just an overview and introduction to how did we develop the plan and what is the format of it. I hope you were able to get on the website and take a look at it. And I welcome any additional questions about, you know, what did we look at? How did we develop this plan and what are our goals for it? I see, how will these recommendations be presented, adopted for the following school year? I'll give a quick answer to that. And then if APS, if anyone wants to jump in. So part of the goal, two things here that I want to point out. One is we involved educators and members of the Arlington community throughout this process, because we didn't want it to be something given to you or told to you, but something that we have all created, and that you see a purpose and a value in the goals, as well as see yourselves in part of the strategies and implementation of it. So that is why, you know, we engage people at many different points in the process, as well as in the strategic plan itself listed out the different roles and people who will be involved in various ways. As far as, you know, particular recommendations and how Arlington will take them up. I don't know if, Terry, if you want to add a comment to that about the implementation process. AIR, we will be continuing to work with Arlington to kind of help guide and see how is implementation going. But again, this is a strategic plan for the Arlington community to take up to really, you know, it's in your hands to be the implementers.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. And so I see that the question specifically references the staffing ratios, for example, but I understand that it's about the broader set of recommendations and how they'll be incorporated into Arlington's plans and actions. So I'll tell you that what we plan to do is we will have ongoing work sessions with AIR, where we'll work through some of these recommendations that come out of the plan and draft action steps. Additionally, some of this will involve recommendations that go forward and may become budgetary presentations as we move through the plan. And so essentially our goal will be to incorporate the findings from the 5-year plan into our processes within the district and to develop implementation plans as we're able to. Any other questions about that? I will say there's some broader, I will mention one thing with respect to staffing. Additionally, there is a upcoming review of planning factors that the school board will be leading. And so our findings, our recommendations will be very helpful, we hope, in that process as well.
Thank you, Terry. And I wanted to add that I have the question about when do you plan to implement? This will be an ongoing process. As we said, the goals are something that we're working towards in the 5-year mark. Some things, you know, will happen faster than others, or those strategies are going to be hit the ground running in the coming school year. Others will be a process to get towards where we want to be in the goal. Another thing to note, I know some people mentioned here they were part of the educator work groups. We convened a group of educators across different roles, across different schools, across different grade spans. And we involved them first in the data collection phase to tell them about, you know, what data we were collecting, what the purpose of this is. We met with them to describe the findings of the initial data collection. We shared with them a draft, and we'll be meeting with those work groups again in the spring to talk actually about implementation. So you know, everyone can think about whether you are counselors, educators, site leaders, where you see yourselves in those strategies, and think about planning for the coming year and sort of, you know, how do I take this and put it into the next steps of my planning and work with others like that. So we do look forward to speaking to the educator work groups again, so they can go out in their sites and roles and help with implementation and sort of the day-to-day next steps. And I want to thank the educator, you know, everyone who was part of those work groups, as well as the data collection. That's what's made this, you know, is making this process really alive and meaningful, is that participation.
Yeah, if I could piggyback, Rebecca, I really want to thank everyone who volunteered their time. We had parents, community members, staff members who met multiple times to get us to where we are. And I always am impressed with the Arlington school community's willingness to contribute. And certainly we couldn't have done this without you. So thank you.
Are there any additional questions? We'll take those in the chat. We'll stay on just a few extra minutes in case there are any questions. If you have any follow-up questions, you can email either myself or Patricia. And again, just encourage you to go to the website, read through the plan thoroughly, and then come and provide your feedback and input on the forms here. I know not everybody could make it to this webinar as well. So if you know of others who are excited about this work, passionate about improving outcomes for English learners, feel free to direct them to this so that they can take a look, feel, excited, part of it, have their voice heard through this feedback period as well. And Terry, do you have, here we have a question. Concerned about some of the academic terminology in the plan. I think some of our parents will not be familiar with terms like formative assessment or understand the distinction between content and general education courses. Yeah, that's a great question. So part of that was, yes, we wanted to have this webinar and have interpreters to help explain it. We've also invited the bilingual family specialist in the district to both attend this webinar, view recordings of it, and hold information sessions with their respective audiences. So we've shared this with, as well as all members of staff in the community so that the people who are liaisons to parents and family already, we can, share the information with them so they can play that role of helping talk about it with parents and family members to explain what it means, to talk through it. As well as we'd be happy to answer any questions as well and hold, any additional calls or input as needed. But we're hoping, we know that there's a really strong bilingual family specialist community and that they are such a link to parents and getting the information out. So we'll be excited for them to help be our connection as well to share this.
Rebecca, I would also add to that and say that please, as you're sharing feedback here and asking questions, please incorporate that into the feedback forms.
Absolutely, yes.
are
Yeah,
on
we'll
the
save this
Engage
chat,
page.
but really we want the feedback form for these ideas so that we can integrate that as well. In particular, if you mentioned terms here too, that we can try to address those in the next version, put explanations and build upon that. So thank you all. Possible to develop a glossary of terms so everyone explaining things in the same way. Yeah, and again, I echo Terry's suggestion. Make sure we get it in the feedback form. So any and all ideas put there so we make sure we capture them. And don't worry about, keep the, more comments are fine. If they're on the form, on the plan itself, please put them in the feedback. But if there's questions tonight about the process or the high level structure, we'll be happy to answer those. Okay. Well, we will hold this open for a few more minutes if anyone has questions, but this is, we've concluded with the part of the presentation sharing about this. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and please do take a look at the full plan. We are excited to share it with you all. It's been a wonderful process of learning more about Arlington over the past year, spending time getting to know you all, to work side by side. And something that we saw throughout this process was a real commitment towards English learners. So we're excited to put that commitment into a written form where everybody is saying, this is what we want to do. This is where we want to be in the next 5 years. So it's been our pleasure. We are humbled to be able to do this work with you, to be here beside you in helping to set this goal. and excited for any input that you have so we can make this something that's going to really work for your district. It's going to be meaningful. It's going to come alive in the next 5 years and really be your North Star to guide that work towards a commitment to English learners. I'll stay on if there are any other questions. And Terry, I don't know if you want to say anything in closing as well.
Just once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment to this project, and we look forward to the ongoing work.
And thank you, interpreters.
Good night, everybody.